ever feel nervous about getting on stage to deliver a presentation? Whether it's at a conference like SQL Bits, or at your local user group, or maybe even just at work? That was me some years ago. I was so nervous that my palms were sweating, my legs were shaking, and my voice was trembling and cracking up. And I got so tense and so nervous that I was speaking up here. I was speaking so fast because I just wanted to get it over with, and my breath were so shallow that it felt like I couldn't breathe. And all of that turned into like this massive ball of anxiety in my stomach. And now I'm here at SQL Bits, and I love speaking. Sometimes I even plan my vacations around going to events like this because I enjoy it and I have fun being on stage. So what changed? Welcome to 6 tips for building confidence as a public speaker. My name is Cathrine or Cathrine Wilhelmsen. I work as a tech lead and senior data management and analytics consultant in a Norwegian company called Skill. I'm a data platform MVP, and you can find me on Twitter at CathrineW and on my blog, cathrinew.net. So here's the maybe not so secret. I still get super nervous. Even right now, my hands are shaking. I feel nervous. I have butterflies in my stomach. And my Fitbit is telling me that I'm currently doing a cardio exercise because my heart rate is through the roof. The only difference is that I just have more practice. I have practice speaking, and I have practice being nervous and learning how to deal with being nervous. And I wish that there was a shortcut. I wish that there was a way I could snap my fingers and make all of you feel super confident on stage, or just pull some confidence out of the air and throw it into all of you. But it's not that easy. But there are a few things that you can do to make it a little easier for yourself. Now, there are things that you can do with breathing and posture and, all of those physical things. I want to focus a little more on how to prepare for your session and how to deliver your session. So the first thing, tell your story. If someone were to ask you to choose between reciting an entire book word by word or telling a story about something that happened a year ago, what would you choose? I think most people would be most comfortable just sharing a story and telling about something that you've been through. And this is an easy way to build confidence as a speaker because you don't have to remember any facts or very detailed facts, and no one can come up to you later and say that you were wrong. Your story was wrong. You did not experience it that way because it's your story. So that in itself immediately builds confidence when you're delivering a session. So first, start with a challenge or a pain point. This goes for more core skills sessions like the one I'm delivering now, or more technical skills. Start with something that you were facing that was challenging, difficult, that you were stuck on, something that you spent time trying to figure out. Then explain how you overcame that challenge, which solution you found, how you made it past all of that. And then end with, what did you learn from it? How did you grow from that challenge? 3 very easy steps that you can apply to any kind of session, whether technical or more personal. And again, it's all your story. You can even fake it if you want. No one is going to know. Just tell your story and start with that. Second is to focus on the key takeaway. We've been through almost an entire day here at SQL Bits. We've also had 2 days of pre-cons. And if I were to ask you for each of the sessions that you attended, what was the main thing that the speaker wanted you to remember from that session? Or can you summarize that session in one sentence and share that with me? Can you even remember all the sessions that you've been to? By Sunday, can you remember all the sessions you've been to the entire week? Probably not. And that's something that we as speakers need to be aware of, and we need to use that to our advantage. We need to do the work for you. So I need to focus on the key takeaway, what I want you to remember from my session, and make sure that that is what I try to stick into your brains. So when it comes to the key takeaway, what is most important? What is the number one thing that you want people to remember when they leave your session? Could be anything. If it's an internal company presentation, maybe it's an action point or something to do with revenue or something that's maybe not as exciting, but you want people to remember that key piece of information. Or if it's personal, it could be, do you want them to leave with a feeling of encouragement or excitement or something like that? Figure out what is most important. And then for yourself, summarize that in one sentence. One sentence, and keep working on it till you have one sentence that sticks. Because if you can't summarize your own session in one sentence, how can you expect your attendees to do that? And then build your session around this. Always start with the key takeaway. What is the main goal of your session? And how can you build your session to build up underneath that? Everything is going to lead up to that key takeaway or support that in some way. The third part is to group content in smaller chunks. Our brains are amazing, but is also really, really dumb. And our brain likes especially one number. It likes the number 3. So group things into 3. It's easy for people to remember. There's something about 3 that makes it, it just sticks in our brain. You may see a theme in my session here today as well when it comes to this. So it could be, point 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, or a start, middle, end in a presentation. So we like 3. It's easy to remember. Maybe you want to stretch it to 5 or 7, but make sure that you have an odd number because somehow it's easier for our brains to remember. And how many times during a session here have you felt that you were distracted? How many times did you pick up your phone or look on your laptop, you got a notification, something that kind of took you out of the session that you were in and into something else that was more important? Even if you really try to focus on a session, our brains can only stay focused for about 10 to 20 minutes at the time. So if you're doing a session that is maybe an hour long, if you then group it into 3, you have 3 parts that are about 20 minutes each. That ties very well in with, a start, a middle, and an end in some way. And what that does is it gives you a way to have kind of soft breaks in your session between each of those parts. It could be hard breaks where you're switching from slides to a demo, or from one topic to a completely different topic, or just one of those soft breaks where, I'm going from section A to section B, and you can give yourself time to grab a sip of water. This also gives your attendees a chance to kind of catch up, especially if you're nervous like me and you're talking really fast. Taking just that little break and take a deep breath and, fix your posture again. And attendees will have, a couple of seconds to catch up and kind of remember what you just told them. Once you have all of those things, once you've kind of built up your session, you have your key takeaway, you've grouped out your content, you have your slides ready to go, make sure that you rehearse offline. And when I say offline, multiple ways to do that, but turn off your devices. If you were to deliver a presentation and your computer died, would you be able to go through with it without any slides, any notes, or anything else that you had on there? What if the projector died and no one could see your slides? What if the projector exploded? That sounds maybe, over the top, but I've actually been to a conference where that happened, so no one in that room could deliver any sessions. Can you still deliver your session? Can you go through and, explain everything that you want? Can you draw it on the whiteboard? So try and deliver your session without having any devices, any notes. And the way that I do that is I go outside or to another room or in a different setting in some way, and I rehearse in my head. And again, if I tell my story or a story It's easier to remember when I'm walking outside. I don't have any notes. If I group things into chunks, I know that, okay, I'm walking around and I am thinking about how do I deliver the session. Okay, I need to get through 1, 2, and 3, with start, middle, and end. My key takeaway is this: how can I always build up to that? And it also helps you to kind of detach yourself from, having this support device right here. It's all about building up your confidence that I know my content. I know how to deliver this. I can do this even if, my computer dies. And once you're feeling ready, you're getting up on stage and you feel like this is something that I can do, Once you get up on the stage, I want you to start strong. Have you ever attended a session where the speaker gets up on stage, they start speaking, and they're like, wow, I didn't expect to see so many of you here. Why are you in my session? This famous speaker is in the other room. Are you sure you're in the right session? Well, anyway, I'm not really an expert on this topic, and I'm sure all of you know more about this than me. And this is really introductory, so maybe you were hoping for something more advanced. I'm sorry about that. Or, I'm going to rush through my session because I think I have a little too much content. Have you seen that? I've done that. And it's a very human way of putting up this kind of defense mechanism that I want to lower all of your expectations because I don't want you to leave and feel disappointed, right? It's very natural for us to do, like, I am going to shield myself by lowering your expectations because then you won't leave disappointed. But the problem with that is, you're talking yourself down. And that's not a good thing in any setting. It might feel like you're doing something that could help you, but in reality, if you do that, people are going to come in and go like, they're not really prepared. They don't really know what they're doing or why they're here, and they're not, are they even sure they want to deliver this session? And keep in mind that attendees chose your session. They chose to show up, to be there, and to listen to you. I haven't forced any of you to be here. I may have encouraged some of you slightly more than others, but I've never forced anyone to, you have to be here and listen to me. You all chose to come here and listen to me because hopefully I have something useful to share, something that you can learn from me. And you need to remember that when you're on stage. Everyone in the room wants you to succeed. Maybe there's one person who's hoping that you're failing miserably, but that's very rare. Most people want you to succeed and do a good job because that's what they'll get most out of your session. If it is difficult for you to kind of feel confident about things and to start a session and almost kind of fake it till you make it, to go up there and say, I am the expert here. I know all of these things. If that feels weird to you, memorize the first 5 minutes. Do it until it feels mechanical. Welcome to my session. I am Cathrine. I will tell you about these things today. Go through that until the words start, almost stop making sense, till it feels mechanical. Because once you get on stage and all your nerves are kicking in and you're shaking, and you can just go back to that mechanical feeling of, all right, welcome to my session. And you're going to go into that mechanical mode. It helps. You don't need to remember your entire session or script it or rehearse it until you know word by word, unless that is what makes you feel the most confident, but at least the first 5 minutes. It's a very easy way to build up your confidence because once you get going, once you get through those first couple of awful minutes standing in the spotlight with everyone staring at you and you get into the flow, things are going to get easier. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. And finally, when you're wrapping up your session, I want you to end on your terms. Have you been to any sessions here where a speaker ended with questions slide at the end? And it just went kind of silent and a little awkward, and the speaker is standing there waiting for a question and nothing happens. And then you're like, okay, well, I think we're going to wrap up. And then one person raises their hand. And you go, okay, you have a question. yes, I have this very specific problem that is only relevant to me in my current situation in my job. Can you please give me free consulting? Is basically the question. And then you start going into this one-on-one consultation with that person, and all the other attendees are like, this is not really relevant to me. I'm gonna pack up my bag and sneak out the back. I've seen that happen. I've been that speaker as well. Seeing that happen in my own session where people just kind of start trickling out, it's not a fun feeling. So drop that last question slide, move it to, maybe a little earlier in your session, but don't end with that. Respect everyone's time. People are busy at conferences. Once a session is over, you want people to have the choice to, you can go out, you can take a break, you can do whatever you want, and end with that applause instead. You can skip this last question slide and end with something where, thank you all for coming today. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. You get that applause, and that is going to build up your confidence because everyone likes to, feel like, yes, I did a good job. What you can say is, if you have any questions, I'll be outside after the session. At a conference like this, it also helps because helpers can, start cleaning up the room. The next speaker can come in and start setting up. And the ones who are interested in talking to you, they're likely going to come up anyway because raising your hand and asking a question in a crowd like this is a little difficult. So to summarize those 6 very practical tips, tell your story or a story. Fake a story. Just build your session around some kind of story instead of going through, here are 40 SQL scripts that I will walk you through. A story is much easier for everyone to remember, including yourself. Focus on the key takeaway. Make sure that people remember what your session was about. Make sure that you remember what your session is about so you can always come back to that if you get lost or you get distracted and you're kind of flustered. My key takeaway. Okay, what's important here? Yes, I know where to continue. Group content into smaller chunks. Help yourself remember each of those chunks and help your attendees stay focused throughout the session. Rehearse offline. And again, this is very easy if you've done the first 3 things. You just have to go through in your head without a computer. Start strong, memorize the first 5 minutes, never talk yourself down. You are the expert when you're on stage. You own the content. People are there to listen to you. So own that. Straighten up, take a deep breath, and start strong. And then end on your terms. And the key parts here is, again, there is no quick solution to this. All of this requires you to practice. It is likely to require you to make some mistakes and to fail a few times. I've done that many times, made all the mistakes in the book, but I've learned from them. And that's a key thing here. If you do something wrong, don't beat yourself up. Think about, okay, what happened? What can I do to avoid that? How can I make sure that the next time I do better? And look at it as a way for you to grow personally and as a speaker. And then repeat. Continue to do that loop. Practice, learn, and repeat. Practice, learn, and repeat. And with that, I know that you've got this. If you decide to get up on stage, you've already won. You've already taken that step to be on stage and talk in front of someone. It's like the biggest fear people have is public speaking. So if you choose to do this, you've got this. You already have. With that, I hope you enjoy the rest of SQL Bits. Please remember to fill in the feedback forms and help us plant more trees. Enjoy the rest of the conference, and thank you so much.